32% is the industry.
तो ऐसा नहीं कि खरीद के वेट कर रहा है.
it's not institutional.
Nobody is holding.
You will get some.
It's all day traders.
By afternoon you will have something.
What? Some movement.
हाँ मतलब when the institutions come in, अभी खेल लो जितना खेलना है.
हाँ जब your US guys wake up.
US mutual fund जितना कम कर सको उतना अच्छा है.
चलिए we are live.
जी सर ठाकुर.
Thakur, yaar, the big thing, and we'll of course focus on IndusInd, Interglobe, etc.
30-year.
But 30-year yield, 10-year yield, UK
20-year.
inflation, Japanese yields zooming through. India suddenly seems like a cotton ball in an otherwise hard world. Literally speaking, look at what's happening there. I mean, yesterday they did some auctions, and those auctions got a very tepid response in the US.
Yes.
So, viewers, by the way, firstly, thank you for tuning in. 2, please subscribe, like, send your questions. And 3, we are starting off talking about the spike in the global yields. Effectively, yields ऊपर जा रहे हैं, bond prices नीचे आ रहे हैं, which means that investors are shrugging off bonds. I think that's the first summation.
It's called buyer strike happening in the US.
Maybe. So, guys, thoughts on this first?
I mean, bound to happen after recent developments. I was reading something. So obviously the Moody's downgrade has hurt the US bonds at this point. Alongside that, there's also a lot of trepidation before the tax bill gets approved. As of now, in case the US government does approve the tax bill, then you've got to fund a lot of things, and if taxes are not going to come in, वो कहाँ से लाओगे पैसा? मार्केट में जाना पड़ेगा. And obviously people are quoting crazy yields. They're not going to accept under 5% on the 30th. That's what happened in the US. 30-year yield has shot up above 5%. Bound to happen. If the government is in need, people will try to extract as much as possible. Yeah. That's where it is.
And across the world, right? मतलब Brazil, चलो idiosyncratic problems हो सकते हैं, but Japanese yields have also shot up.
Yeah. Interestingly, there was a news report I read which talked about their agricultural minister, farm minister. Apparently, he at an event he said that I don't understand how rice is so expensive because I have enough rice that I can sell it to people. And if that is the case, then people should eat the free rice that the government gives them. And then he immediately after that lost his job because the inflation problem in Japan has shot up so badly. Rice prices have doubled, and rice is staple. Staple food prices have doubled. Matlab, the economy can't sustain itself, and Japan is a high inflation economy anyway.
Anyway, exactly. Yeah. So, and yesterday UK inflation shot through the roof as well.
Yeah. My thing is that if you look at some of the trade data which has come from the US, March was a month where we saw a huge amount of imports happening in the US, and after, because of this trade expectation which was there, right? And in April, we suddenly saw investors reluctance to buy long-dated securities, especially US Treasuries, which is there. अब उसका impact क्या हो रहा है? उसका impact ये हो रहा है कि it's having an impact on the dollar. Dollar is correcting, which is happening, and assume that we're talking of $3 to $8 trillion of US debt that needs to be refinanced in the next 2 to 3 quarters. We are looking at there could be a chance of a high dollar depreciation coming in either in a short term or over a period of 2 to 3 quarters. अगर too short term में आता है, so suppose imagine करो रुपी आज के डेट में 55, 86
हाँ 55 कौन से साल में
86 है. अगर रुपी 5% अप्रिशिएट हो जाता है यहाँ से, imagine the impact which is going to happen on IT companies. And IT index has been falling for last 2 days since the time this 5% treasury yield has come into play. So one of the reasons why IT is down today And for the last
But there's
couple of
also
days,
the discounting reasons, no, Sajeet? When the yields are higher, the rate of discounting effectively
that is true,
the
but
key factor.
the point is that it's going to hit your revenues anyways, right? जो cushion था,
डॉलर रेवेन्यू इम्पैक्ट
dollar revenue
नहीं, इनफैक्ट सॉरी रुपी रेवेन्यू इम्पैक्ट हो जाएगा, बराबर है.
होगा. जो आज के डेट में जो क्वेश्चन आ रहा था कि 2 to 3% depreciation every year of a dollar of rupee, and that will bring in some kind of
That has
an impact
agree.
in this. So rupee and the fact, and as you said, you have the yen appreciating from 156 to 143. Japan has been holding off its rates despite inflation which is happening, and yields are jumping in Japan as well. And in the non-US regions like Euro and the GBP is depreciating against the USD, but rupee उतना नहीं हुआ है. Right? Rupee is holding on. In the beginning of April, it was 85, 56 or 57. अभी भी उसी rate पे है rupee. So if that changes, अगर rupee यहाँ से appreciate करने लगे because of the dollar thing, imagine what is going to happen in some of the export-oriented sectors which is coming in. So that challenge which is there is not been factored in by the market at this point in time.
Yeah. Agree. But by the way, just before we move to IndusInd, a lot of macro things are happening off late. I just an article yesterday on Bloomberg which said that US buyers are now back, quote unquote, hounding the Chinese suppliers. 90-day window hai, jaldi bhejo. In order for the July 4th Thanksgiving holiday, they really want to shore up the supply pads. So that route is also becoming easy, and shipping rates have started moving higher. So interesting. But anyways, back home. So ये global ज्ञान हो गया. Now we talk about the two I's. IndusInd and Indigo.
IndusInd में दो है.
But Vishy, man, we were talking about this in the morning. This is a saga जहाँ पे 2 months have looked like 2 years, है ना?
I mean, yeah, it's I think I have aged just over that con call that happened last evening.
What was the boat smoking? Yeah, let me put it this way: who in a right mind will come in a public call to the investor and say there is a fraud in the bank? Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you can doubt that something of that sort of happened. You will go to the regulator and tell the regulator that you suspect something. You will not come out and say in public, right? This is a bank for...
I suspect that they were asked to do this because looking at IndusInd Bank's track record, they hate disclosures. They hate disclosures. So here's where I think the situation is, right? And this is purely my conjecture. So far, since March 10, when the bank first came out with the disclosures, there have been, I think, 2 or 3 instances where the bank has had to disclose more issues in IndusInd Bank to the market. The microfinance issue, other assets and other liabilities, insider trading were issues. All of those issues were disclosed because there was a news report that morning, and then the bank had to confirm it because SEBI requires you to confirm whatever developments are happening. So, उसकी वजह से उन लोगों ने किया. Otherwise, if it were up to them, they would not tell you anything about what is happening at the bank at this point in time. Understandably so, it is a sensitive time. It is also a highly uncertain time. So you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by clearly telling you everything exactly day to day. सब कुछ बता दोगे तो. This last night's disclosure is most likely being prompted by the Reserve Bank of India. There is no way that the RBI is not involved in these disclosures. That's where I'm coming from. I think. So far, ideally, the RBI should have appointed a director.
Do you think the RBI has said that go and say that there's a suspected fraud?
I think the RBI doesn't give you such specific instructions. They will tell you that be transparent.
See, we are in a financial system where a fraud in a financial entity is looked at a different thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's a money of people which is at stake here.
Yeah.
Even if there is a fraud, कोई भी cases, we talk about public sector banks where lots of CBI cases are going on because किसी का NPL हो गया, किसी का वो हो गया, so that kind of. Even they don't say fraud. They will say that there is an NPL, there is an investigation which is coming in. Here you are coming out and openly saying that there's a suspected fraud.
Yeah. So I mean,
you're doing the disservice that you're doing is that one, you are basically now saying that your entire finance department,
Correct.
your entire compliance department, all of them are involved in it, and you don't know who's involved in it.
Correct.
So everyone has to be roomed.
Correct.
Second, the new CEO which you're trying to bring in, the person will say कि मैं आके अपने फाइनेंस और कंप्लाइंस चेंज करते करते ही 2-3 क्वार्टर हो जाएंगे मेरे, सिंपल, मैं करूँगा क्या? और थर्ड जो है, आप बोलते हो कि मैं जून 30 से पहले अपना नाम दूंगा, एंड देन यू पुटिंग अ गन ऑन द आरबीआई स्टैंपल एंड सेइंग नहीं, आप मुझे जल्दी
You have to approve it
फास्ट. तो आरबीआई विल क्या करेगा? आरबीआई बोलेगा कि लेट मी गो द सेफेस्ट रूट, गेट अ पीएसयू गाय इन.
Yeah, so we have to.
And that is anti-shareholders, right? In that sense,
we have to see, what names go to the RBI finally. But see, as of now, somebody in the system was telling me that if they were talking to people and if they had a short list, all of those people before signing on will be like, "आप March quarter का result बता दो हमको, tell us what the disclosures are, and then we can take our final call if you want to sign the dotted line or not." Most likely that is where the situation is. So last night they have announced their results, which were terrible, by the way. And now
more than expected. Terrible was a bad.
Worse than expected loss. Plus the fact that the core business has suffered, which it will continue to suffer for some more time, because lack of leadership is a problem. Currently, an executive committee is running the bank. You can't run a bank with a committee. So core business will suffer, and future performance is going to suffer till a new guy comes in, who will then take some time to adjust, and then by the time growth starts showing, it will be at least a year or so, or more than that actually.
I mean, tell me which core committee of executives will sign on a loan which is more than 100 crores?
Yeah, you can't.
100 crores छोड़ो, means 10 करोड़ के ऊपर कोई sign
पूरा
नहीं करेगा.
the whole board is independent non-executive directors. They are not going to take that risk on their reputation by signing off on a loan which who knows what is going to happen to
क्रेडिट कमेटी की वजह से भी जाएगा, तो क्रेडिट कमेटी में भी तो बोर्ड के मेंबर्स होते हैं
वो
ना,
लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे
नहीं साइन करेंगे ना कोई.
इसीलिए एग्जीक्यूटिव्स बैठते हैं उस पे, अदरवाइज that is the reason
And
why
now that
executives
you
are
called it a fraud, means पता चला कि जिसने साइन अप्रूव किया उस कमेटी में उसका नाम आ गया उसके अंदर, तो क्या करेगा वो?
But surprising that the board and the auditors both have पल्ला झाड़ लिया, बोले हमको नहीं मालूम था, whatever was happening, it was hidden from us, concealed from us. For not even 1 second, I buy that nobody.
How did the auditor find it now?
Exactly. I mean, so that because of external investigations. But the point being that was your job, which you had to outsource to an external investigator. That's the auditor's job, to find if there is an issue. Derivatives is a core business which auditors have to review. You can't just depend on management declaration.
There are 3 audits that happen in a bank.
Yeah.
It's a branch audit which happens, you have the internal audit which happens, you have an external audit which happens.
Correct.
There's a statutory and regulatory audit which the RBI does.
Correct. And if the problems have been, according to the disclosures, FY16 to FY24, they've been doing these trades. FY16 to FY24, 8 साल तक उन्होंने ट्रेड्स किए हैं, तो so far nobody has bothered to look at it as a problem area. Surprising.
Viewers, can you imagine both my esteemed colleagues who track this so closely, for the last 10 minutes, without a pause, they've spoken about all the issues, and this is not even the tip of the iceberg, I would reckon. So, the investing implication of this, viewers, is that there are brokerages that come both sides.
Correct.
But the simplest thing to do is, okay, there are 4,999 other stocks. There are probably 40 other stocks in the banking space. If you are not certain about anything around IndusInd Bank, the valuation or what have you, if you don't track it as closely as a Suresh of Macquarie does or whatever it is, don't wade into that.
Yeah.
Try and be safe, because as Vishy said, okay, there's lots to come. And as Sajeet said, that who knows, if there is a PSU banker at the helm at some point of time, it's not something that multiples of a bank usually like.
Correct.
So,
I mean, we've seen at RBL, this same thing happened, right? Like a PSU banker came in and it took some time before the bank could actually stabilize itself and start growing. वो अब हो रहा है. After nearly 2 years of this, CEO having taken charge. So
and not necessarily the same thing will happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what the final result is going to look like? So we have to wait and see. So waiting is probably a good idea on IndusInd.
Okay, that's the verdict, really.
But that's not the price reflecting, right? I think you are as surprised
I was
as I am.
surprised. I was surprised.
Means the kind of, but this hardly,
the market.
it's basically a speculation which is going, arbitrage or speculation which is going on in the market at this point in time.
Valuation ठीक है.
मतलब delivery तो है ही नहीं, 30% delivery stats में.
But वही है कि 0.7 बुक पे लोगों को बेचना नहीं है अभी. वो है ना, आज sellers इतने ज़्यादा नहीं है. इसलिए भाई they are able to shore up the price because there is not as much selling pressure. I would have thought there would be intense selling pressure.
Exactly.
I have been wrong.
Means even I was of the opinion, and I was looking at the shareholding.
And I heard Vishy in the morning.
Yeah.
So I cemented my opinion. यही होना है. और नहीं हुआ.
नहीं, but अगर तुम March to March देखोगे, तो domestic mutual funds and insurance companies have raised the stake, and FIs have reduced the stake in that period.
Yeah.
चलिए,
She has to leave.
I have to leave, but you all, हाँ, Harsh will join in shortly. वो भी शायद बात करेगा about IndusInd. He has a lot of opinions.
नहीं, अभी बस हो गया IndusInd. अभी बस हो गया.
Sure. Thank you
We should
guys.
fly high. Thank you, Vishy. Thank you so much. Well, while we wait for Harsh to come in, I think the other important piece to talk about is Interglobe Aviation, and there are two things to this, right? The two things to my mind is that one, that the performance. Welcome. So two things. By the way, I must say, I must tell something here before we get to Interglobe Aviation.
He was the only one saying कि आज ऊपर जाएगा stock.
No. Becky Quick, she's a journalist globally.
Yeah.
She's
CNBC.
put out a post today saying that next year Warren Buffett is not going to come on stage for the Berkshire Hathaway AGM.
But you said he's going to come, na?
नहीं. I said कि hopefully he'll come. She said he's not. The point I'm trying to make is last 2 साल से मैं हर्ष को बोल रहा हूँ कि boss, you never know when he might stop coming. आ जाओ. Harsh sat on the sidelines this year with reason, last year without reason. Now he will not be able to see Warren Buffett on stage.
That's okay.
There is nothing else you can say to this.
I agree.
But वही है.
That's
No, but we'll see Becky interviewing Warren Buffett. Who will they like?
वो तो आप भी देख सकते हैं. But any case. So the other thing is Interglobe Aviation, and
Numbers were good, yeah. Means I saw the numbers.
were good, but they have said that May was bad, and they have said that
15
recovery
days.
कब भाई सब recovery कब आएगी पता नहीं है. देखो ये है ना, मैं Saturday को मैं ऑनर भी बोला था. Saturday I went to have breakfast at the Marriott Juhu, right? And the commentary with somebody who was there attending and who had come from a lot of 5-star hotels in Mumbai at least. He said that the occupancies are low.
Very low, yeah.
Occupancies are very low. So people are traveling less. हर्ष ने उस दिन बोला था खैबर ले लेते हैं 1/3 2/3 डिस्काउंट पे है, but people are not taking the bait. Forget Jammu and Kashmir. I think the overall travel is low, overall occupancy is low.
मैंने ये पूछा,
You have to
बोला
be
था,
careful.
मेरे पीछे सब लोग पड़ गए थे कि नहीं जाएंगे बिल्कुल जाएंगे.
मैं तो जाना चाहता हूँ भाई.
सब लोग मतलब एक ही लोग ना. You
मैं तो अभी भी जाना चाहता हूँ, but I've just come back from a holiday. I can't take a holiday again. But my
You
limited
can say yes, Saturday, Sunday.
too rushed.
लंच खाने के लिए जा सकते हो तुम.
That's not a holiday. So I did go ना. वो तो मैं किया. मैं बोल रहा हूँ holiday नहीं है वो. But my limited point is I think this quarter it will pay to be a bit careful on hospitality companies and aviation companies. Otherwise, what fabulous numbers from Indigo for the quarter gone by. Phenomenal.
Amazing.
Q1 I think that
20% beat on bottom line is
in all numbers.
all numbers.
Across all
Record,
metrics,
EBITDA,
everything.
Record revenue.
बीच में किसी ने एक रिपोर्ट आई हैव सीन वन रिपोर्ट द बीट वाज ऑन द बैक ऑफ फॉरेक्स गेन्स और समथिंग एक आया था रिपोर्ट बट इवन इफ यू रिमूव इट द नंबर्स आर मच बेटर इन दैट बट इन
Solid quarter. The question only is that
aviation
would you want to
space-
buy it now or do you buy it with a bit of a lag once we know that Indian tourism or Indian travel is again picking up.
And the overhang with regard to Turkish.
That too. And the overhang of the promoter stake sale. Possible promoter stake sale.
Yes.
ही इज ऑलमोस्ट एक्स प्रमोटर नाउ
हाँ, but
गंगवार
13% तो है ना फिर भी 13.5% है यार, छोटा क्वांटिटी
वो तो आता रहेगा इट विल कंटिन्यू टू कम इन द मार्केट और उसी से वहीं से तो फ्लोट आएगा अगर आएगा तो अगर आपको फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर को चाहिए तो डोमेस्टिक मींस इंडिगो का फ्लोट वहीं से आएगा और कहीं से नहीं आएगा बट नंबर्स आर गुड lucky we don't have any other company in the aviation space where you can bet anything.
It's insane. You want to bet on India aviation
Aviation, there's only one, Indigo.
because Spicer is proving to be a bad investment
Bad
for
investment, people. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
So वो है और एयर इंडिया अभी लिस्ट नहीं हो रहा है so I don't know. Even that's loss making, but yeah.
At least वो option है, but yeah,
Aviation as a space has never done well. So
very select companies, like Southwest for some time did well, etc. and stuff like that.
select companies, select time periods also. We've not seen
And
a
the
proven
business
winner.
model, the business model which Indigo has.
One of the reasons why Buffett also stays away from.
Yeah.
He got into airlines in a big way and then sold it in COVID. But a big way.
But even before and after, his commentary has been stay away.
Yeah, but he did get into it. So, but yeah. So,
But one sector which is buzzing is defense. And
कल के डिप के बाद आज वापस थोड़ा
वापस आया है और आई वाज लुकिंग एट द फोर्टनाइटली नंबर्स एफआई के जो नंबर्स आते हैं उसमें कैपिटल गुड्स के अंदर दे वर अराउंड $300 million का नेट बाय विच केम इन कैपिटल गुड्स एंड आई वाज टेलिंग हर्ष यस्टरडे why capital goods because defense and aerospace comes under the capital goods thing so उसकी वजह से but commentary we were talking about BEL the day before where they are the partners for the indigenized S-400s which with DRDO that's 40,000 odd crores का order जो है that's it's in the pipeline which is coming पर कल garden reach आया con call and they are sitting on a order book of nearly 23,000 crores and they have a potential order book which is going to come in for corvettes and other ships which is there of 70,000 crores in the next 12 to 18 months which is going to come in. Means these are things where acceptance of necessity has already taken place. DSE approval बचा है और cabinet approval बचा है. So the kind of so that report which we are talking about it PL का जो report आया था कि shipbuilders will get 2.4 lakh crores of order over the next 2 to 3 years. It's coming into play which is there. So that's a place which is there. And I mean looking at BEL, the way this company suddenly in the last 2 or 3 months इतना accumulation हो रहा है foreign funds are buying into it like anything.
सस्ता है related to others.
Yeah, I mean it's like a BAE systems जो है UK का. It's almost the model is becoming like that actually.
Yeah.
For that.
चलिए questions ले.
बिल्कुल.
So संचित गोयल यार ये ट्रांस रेल लाइटिंग पे वी शुड कम एंड स्टडी एंड कम.
Yeah.
ये बहुत क्वेश्चंस आते हैं ट्रांस रेल पे. बहुत लोगों ने पूछा. आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट द कंपनी. डू यू?
Nope.
Sajeet?
I tracked it during the IPO, but I can check some of my notes and come back.
So IPO came 6 months ago. You will come prepared with it tomorrow.
No, I'll just.
अच्छा ठीक है तो तब तक हम लोग दूसरी बात करते हैं. So Harshit Parikh is asking that there is Harshit, good afternoon of course, that there is a rating update on Jyoti CNC and saw that they say that the issuer is not cooperating. Is this some sort of a red flag which can be a precursor
It is.
to issues like we have received? बताओ क्यों?
देखो
जल्द में.
सिंपल चीज़ है कि आपका डेट है और डेट अगर क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसी हर डेट को क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसी को रेट करना जरूरी होता है और क्रेडिट रेटिंग एजेंसी डज अ रिव्यू ऑफ योर डेट एंड योर बैलेंस शीट ऑन अ क्वार्टरली बेसिस बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट यू हैव given it to them. If issuer is not cooperating, matlab issuer is not sharing information with the credit rating agency, and as per the requirement, the credit rating agency has to put out that information that this issuer is not sharing information. It could be anything. It could be difference of opinion. They may feel that कि credit rating agency may downgrade my debt. जिसकी वजह से मेरे को problem होगा, इसलिए मैं नहीं करूँगा. But either ways, it's a red flag. You are not disclosing openly to the credit rating agency जिसका fiduciary duty है to tell the investors whether the company's balance sheet and everything is in place or not. So you can easily say कि my P&L and balance sheet is XYZ, but when credit rating agencies look at it, they look at it from different point of view about how the debt is moving, how capital working capital is flowing through, what kind of equity requirement you have, all those things. अगर आपको debt if you are not sharing it with the rating agency, then it's an issue.
Yep.
Okay, so there is a problem. Yes, what we'll do is that we'll try and get the management and ask them about this. So thank you, Harshit, for pointing it out. Harsh, Vigini has a question, I think. You want to talk about it, Harsh?
Sorry, I haven't seen
IDFC has raised capital. IndusInd Bank has undisclosed losses. Is the MFI stress more widespread than banking industry?
What do you think? Means just to add, IndusInd में जो MFI slippages was more than expected, right? In that
Yeah,
sense.
it was more than expected. The guidance was that it will come down. It's not come down meaningfully. So yeah, clearly the problem is there. But also understand one thing, that you will always find certain lenders and certain pockets where lenders have missold. And that has happened for a very long period of time, and therefore it will take some time for recoveries to start to come through. Does that mean that the bottom has not happened? No. Q3 से Q4 में slippages कम आया है in MFI. So वो direction wise it's going right. Now only the question is whether it's a 2-quarter recovery, 3-quarter recovery, 4-quarter recovery is the question. And how much of that is already getting built in. If IndusInd's management has been sensible about this, then they have likely pushed as much of the pain, upfronted it as much as possible in Q4. Saying कि anyway भी kitchen sinking है, anyway भी lost quarter है, push करके खत्म करो. But it's possible that they haven't. IDFC is a different case. In their case also believe that there will be 2 more quarters of pain. At least that's what the guidance is. And at this point we can't judge as to how it will play out. 2 quarter away hai, it's 6 months away, so we'll have to wait and watch ki kaise, how it will play out. But for the moment, that's the common guidance that we're getting across the board. It's a 2-quarter problem more, and the peak is done.
Okay.
But yes, it is widespread. It's across the board, for sure, Vikin. So I don't think that is any doubt. That is very clear that it's across the board. ऐसा नहीं है कि one set of players are more affected than the other. ऐसा नहीं है. It's pretty much across the board.
Okay, so yeah, Vigin of course is talking about why do people not invest, say don't invest in airlines, says Indigo an exception to the rule. Well, largely Vigin, very quickly in 10 seconds, because history will show you that most airline stocks have lost money. Indigo, yes, is an exception to the rule for sure. Okay, a question from Sanchit Goyal. What are the headwinds and tailwinds for the textile sector and how do they impact companies like Gokaldas Export and Garware High Fibers? Sanchit, 2 things. One, at 1:45 today, we have Pearl Global, textile company coming in on air. You might want to tune in for that conversation to know. We'll ask him this question as well. But 2, headwinds, tailwinds, if the US is diversifying, Indian textile sector is well placed to serve some of that, simply because Bangladesh is also going through a spate of issues. So a lot of Indian textile companies have come and said that they are actually standing up to the occasion and trying to supply more. Now, does it continue for good? I don't know, because in this 90-day truce window that US and China have opened up, a lot of US suppliers are going back to the Chinese suppliers, erstwhile Chinese suppliers, and saying कि boss माल दे दो because July 4th के लिए चाहिए. So keep that in mind. Okay.
And India UK FTA.
And you can do your FTA.
That's advantage.
Okay. Yoganandam Subramani has 15 BSE shares. Tomorrow there is a bonus. Can I sell today and after bonus re-enter? You want to do tax loss harvesting?
I think so. That's what he's looking at, right? Means अगर ऐसे ही
Losses में है या profit में?
Profit में पता नहीं.
sir.
Presumably profit में होगा, right? Because that's why he's saying कि मैं
So
बेच
then
दूँ
why
और बाद
will
में
it-
अंदर जाऊँ.
Why is this tax loss harvesting?
नहीं होगा ना.
नहीं होगा.
वो बोनस एक्स बोनस होने के बाद उसको बेचना चाहिए.
हाँ.
तब जाके उसको.
Presumably profit में ही है. Because it's at 7,000. I was just checking the
अगर वो
stock
कल
price
बेचेगा after the X date which is tomorrow 2:1 का bonus है, तो वो that is something then he can sell at half.
No, so suppose 1:1 bonus होता है, तो how can people take advantage of this?
अगर सपोज 100 रुपये का शेयर है तुम्हारे पास आज के डेट में और तुम एक्स बोनस 1:1 है, तो जिस दिन एक्स होगा वो 50 रुपये का शेयर बन जाएगा. तब तुम बेचोगे उसको 50 का और तुम्हारे पास कॉस्ट 100 का है, तो लॉस तुम बुक करोगे उस पर. फर्स्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट जो होता है, और बाकी जो सेकंड 50 है
वो आप राइड करोगे.
वो राइड करोगे क्योंकि वो जीरो कॉस्ट पे आ रहा है आपको बेसिकली. So that's how you will book the losses.
So why does this guy want to do it? He's saying I want to sell and re-enter.
हाँ.
But logic?
लॉजिक समझ नहीं है मुझे. Ideally if you want a bonus or something, then you buy today so that you have the shares tomorrow so that you can get a bonus shares.
Don't do it. Bad day to sell, I think.
Yeah.
Also just keep in mind वो X bonus होने के बाद कभी-कभी if the share is in good fate तो 100 का 50 होने के बाद वो जब लिस्ट होता है ना,
60
तभी
होता है.
55-60 ऐसे हो जाता है. So bear that in mind when you're doing it. Okay?
क्योंकि इंटरेस्ट बढ़ जाता है स्टॉक में, क्योंकि आधा हो गया.
Usually. Silly reason but हो जाता है. I've never understood that, to be honest. Stock split. Bonus तो चलो at least के dividend मिलता है, right? तो bonus share फिर भी
सालों से लोग करे आ रहे हैं सर.
और क्या? Seriously. Anyways,
ठीक है.
if PSU Bank ETF, how is it? Is it better placed than the private banks? Any thoughts, either of you?
PSC Bank ETF.
Is it better placed than a private banking fund or ETF? बोलो बोलो बोलो. Bullish on PSUs versus private. Simple है ना?
आज के डेट में PSU is much better.
You are constructive on PSU banks versus private.
Yeah.
I'm not. Harsh.
No, I would prefer private over PSUs.
Yeah,
Margins of PSUs.
लगी कॉफी की शर्त वापस.
अब आपके PSC प्राइवेट बैंक में तो IndusInd भी है ना इसके अंदर.
तो क्या हुआ? हम
तो
तो
आपका रिटर्न तो
नहीं आज बाहर जाके वो एक ETF चूज करते हैं, लाइन ड्रॉ करते हैं, अमाउंट वैल्यू क्या है.
Are you talking in my favor or against me?
He's against you.
That IndusInd is in private banking. You never know. Look at the way IndusInd is doing today.
वही हम बात कर रहे थे कि we were not expecting that stock to go up.
Surprising.
But it was a surprise. सिर्फ यही बोल रहे थे कि नहीं आज ऊपर जाएगा.
क्या ऊपर?
I said start नीचे होगा, close ऊपर होगा. That's what I said. But close क्या मतलब 15 मिनट के अंदर ही ऊपर था.
बंद करो मार्केट. अच्छा, Shrikar Reddy is asking, can we expect a sell-off in Indian markets by Japanese investors as they get better yields in their markets? I don't know about Indian specifically, but typically when yields shoot up in the US, for example, at the margin, the money which is happy with that X amount of a yield goes back from emerging markets. So can the same happen in Japanese markets? Maybe, but remember Japan is a highly indebted nation. So yields are up there for multiple reasons, including the fact that their inflation is skirting up and the debt levels are very, very high. But yeah, at the margin could happen.
Monitor the currency much better, more closely than the yield, I think, in Japan for anything. Because if the currency is going to appreciate there, as we are seeing it is getting appreciated, then there would be an issue with respect to the carry trade coming into play in some way.
But चलो आइसोलेशन में yields का भी देखो तो yields का पॉइंट्स अगर yields are shooting up
1.12% का yield है.
नहीं सर, बहुत ऊपर गया है सर अभी.
वही ऊपर होने के बाद उतना गया. अभी I was just looking at the flash which came in, right? उसमें. But yes, from a Japan point of view it's much big. हम यहाँ पर US 30 और 5% के ऊपर हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं.
Yeah man, I mean it's crazy what's happening out there too.
What is happening is that because of this entire yields thing happening in the US and in Japan, which is happening, people are going to non-dollar things. So if you see the London metal exchange, metal prices are going up because it's GBP denominated, which is there. There is some kind of money flowing into bitcoins, which is an alternative.
Massive.
So there's some money which is now going back again to gold. Because gold has again gone about $3,300 or so. So, so there is an alternative which is getting played out as we speak.
Paisa, for all the naysayers of Bitcoin, they are all eating their words right now.
True, I agree. But in India, we are not allowed to. So that asset class is not available to.
Anyways, and Suzlon पे एक question है. Just very quickly, I'll take that.
Neeraj sir, what about Neeraj?
नहीं वही है, because यार simple है, इंडिया का वो wind energy addition targets है set till 2030. गिन चुन के 2-3 player हैं. So you should all who is interested in Suzlon etc. should all log on to the Sangvi Movers con call today at 4 p.m. Because if that's the first of the companies which is coming out and will presumably speak about whether India will do about 6 gigawatts of wind power addition or no. अगर वो होता है, it is very positive for all the companies in the sector. So good call to attend. Good Suzlon's call also very good to attend and Inox Wind also. But because Sangvi के results आ गए, call आज 4 बजे है, you can log into that.
Yeah, just to add to the transfer lighting wala question, the earnings are coming out tomorrow. Full year earnings are coming out tomorrow, and on 26th there is a earnings call which is there, which is getting hosted. So if you are a shareholder of that, look at the earnings which come out tomorrow. This company is into EPC, especially into the railway and civil areas, setting up all those poles and towers for in the railway and civil construction which is there, and they've got some decent order books coming in the last couple of weeks. We've seen some order flows which are coming in, but go through the earnings and read and listen to the earnings call which is coming on 26th May.
Yeah. ठीक है. Should we call it a day, guys?
Yes,
और कुछ
please.
बचा है नहीं ना? We on Tata Motors and Ayushman Lalani, Tata Motors and NTPC.
सर कर लेते हैं, लेकिन टाटा मोटर्स पे just
आज एक रीलॉन्च हो रहा है अल्ट्रोज का.
हाँ मतलब I don't know
They've
यार,
been
when will the
talking about
company get
because
the
that's a
motor back?
hatchback. That's a hatchback area which they lost market share in actually. So they relaunching it. But have you seen the new one? The new one is little sleek, I think.
पर होने दो यार, मैं सिर्फ बोल रहा हूँ, I was looking at the market shares of Hyundai and Tata Motors related to a Maruti and a M&M. Serious losses because M&M has come and captured that whole narrative and story. It will take some time. More importantly, Tata Motors is a JLR story, and with the tariffs not looking as bad, maybe just maybe यहाँ से positivity हो, but some of it is in the price. Plus ये है ना, इसका क्या कहते हैं आप? Demerger है.
Demerger है.
So
That is the big.
that's the big one.
Big one which is coming.
But yeah, maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow in detail. For now, we'll have to wrap up. So,
Yes.
but thank you so much for joining in today, and have a great Thursday.
Yes.
So by the way, I yesterday we were talking about something on the chat, and he told me to check. मैंने check करवाया है. मैं बता दूँ, चलो. So in the case of Sajeet, come. By the way, I have some food today as well. क्या है? पालक दाल.
पालक दाल.
मतलब प्रोटीन.